Above the earth, 3,000 people sat in a room without windows, waiting for a fire. Below it, one woman sat alone, counting the same hours. She had kept this appointment every autumn since the world first learned to have seasons. No procession walked toward her, no torches, no crowd of strangers in ruined clothes, only a queen and a door. We know almost nothing about what happened inside that hall. We know even less about this. But the Greeks left one clue, and they left it everywhere. Every rite performed above the ground assumed something was answering from below. You cannot open a gate from one side. She did not remember the day the field opened the way her mother remembered it. Demeter's version had a scream in it. Hers did not. She remembered flowers first. Narcissus, too many of them, blooming in a season that had no business producing flowers at all. She remembered kneeling, and she remembered the sound the ground made. Not a crack, not thunder, a long exhale, as though something under that plane had been holding its breath for centuries and had finally been permitted to release it. Then the light changed, and she was somewhere with no weather. For 9 days she listened to her mother. That is not poetry. Sound behaves strangely in rock. Grief traveled down through the soil, the way water finds a crack, and it arrived thinned, distorted, endless. She heard her name called across 3 countries. She heard a goddess ask farmers, shepherds, fishermen, rivers. She heard the moment the asking stopped, and something colder took its place. Above her, wheat died in the ground. She felt that, too. A daughter learning, hour by hour, exactly how much the world was willing to lose in exchange for her. That is a heavy thing to carry at any age. It is heavier when you are the reason. Hades did not chain her. He did not explain himself. He never apologized, not that year, and not in any of the centuries that followed. He gave her a chamber with a door, and left the door standing open. And each evening he asked her the same question, "Never will you stay?" Only, what did the sun look like today? She had no answer. There was no sun. She understood, eventually, that this was the point. He was not asking her to remember the world above. He was asking her to describe it to a man who had never once been allowed to see it. 2,000 years of readers have argued over what that means. Some see a captive learning the shape of her captor. Some see a girl who had already been staring at the ground long before it opened. The story refuses to settle the question. We will not settle it for you. Then came the fruit. You already know its name. 6 seeds, and the year split in half forever. But there is something about that pomegranate the old poets never mention. Fruit does not appear in the underworld. Nothing takes root there. Nothing ripens. That one came from somewhere. What the sources do agree on is the mechanism. Eat the food of the dead, and the dead have a claim on you. Not a punishment, a contract. She did not eat 6 seeds because she was tricked, and she did not eat them because she was hungry. She ate them because a woman who belongs to 2 worlds can be sent away from either one, and a woman who belongs to the dark cannot be sent away at all. It was the first decision anyone had let her make. She made it against herself. There was someone else beside that black river. There had been someone there long before her. We told that story already, and we will not tell it twice, except for the part that only matters now. Every autumn, in the hall above, the initiates broke a day-long fast and lifted a cup. Barley, water, and 1 green herb, crushed. Every autumn, in order to reach the queen, 3,000 people drank the memory of the woman the queen had destroyed. She knew. Of course she knew. The scent arrived before the crowd did, thin, cold, unmistakable, rising through stone. That was her summons. Not a horn, not a hymn. The smell of a nymph's last moment, carried down to her by strangers who had no idea what they were holding. Whatever else the mysteries were, they were built on this, that the road to the underworld runs through something you have broken, and it will not let you past without making you smell it again. Now the night itself. Here the record fins to almost nothing, and we will be honest about where it ends. Archaeologists digging at Eleusis found something on the slope near the hall. A cave mouth, fitted with a small shrine. The Greeks called that spot the Plutonion, and they said one thing about it. This was where she came up. Not a symbol, an address. They built a doorway into the hillside for a woman they expected to arrive. Two ancient writers, Christians, hostile, breaking a silence nobody else broke, claim that at the climax of the rite a bronze sound was struck inside the hall. A gong sounded in total darkness, and they claim the Hierophant called out that a child had been born in the fire. Whether either man was telling the truth or repeating gossip about a ritual he had been forbidden to attend cannot now be established. But the timing is what stays with you. Above, a sealed room, a struck bronze, a fire opened in the pitch dark, one stalk of grain lifted into the light. Below, a cave, a hillside, and a queen who had been waiting since spring for exactly that hour. The Greeks were not staging a play about a goddess. They believed they were sending a message down and standing very still to see whether anything came back. What did they see? We are not going to pretend to know. But consider what the herald actually held up. Not a god, not a body, not fire, a single ear of wheat, cut in silence. 3,000 people had walked 19 kilometers, starved themselves, drunk a dead woman's memory, and sat all night in a black room to be shown a piece of agriculture. And a Roman lawyer with no patience for superstition walked out of that building and wrote that nothing greater had ever been given to mankind. Here is the only reading that makes those two facts fit together. They were not being shown a plant. They were being shown the seed's argument. Something goes into the dark. It stops being what it was. It is, by every visible measure, finished. And then it comes back, not restored, not the same, but carrying more life than it went down with. That is not a comforting idea about death. It is a demand. It says the descent is not the interruption of your life. It is the mechanism. You have been going down and coming back your entire existence. Every loss, every winter, every ending you were certain you would not survive. And the only reason you are here to hear this is that the pattern holds. Persephone was not the illustration of that lesson. She was the proof. The one being in the universe who could stand in front of them and say, I have done both halves, and I am still speaking. The fire was lit every autumn for almost 2,000 years. And then, one year, it was not. There was no final ceremony, no farewell. The last man who knew the words died without teaching them to anyone. The road went quiet. The hall came down. Grass took the steps. Somewhere below, an appointment was kept. The gong did not sound. Nobody came up the hillside. Nobody has come since. But something did survive. Not the building, not the secret. Go into your kitchen. There is a plant on your windowsill, or in a jar in your cupboard, or growing in the cracked pot you keep meaning to repot. Take one leaf. Press it between your fingers. That cold, sharp thing rising off your hand right now is the oldest surviving fragment of the Eleusinian Mysteries. Not a translation, not a reconstruction. The actual sensation, unchanged, that 3,000 people carried on their fingers as they walked into the dark to look at their own deaths. The temple is rubble. The teaching is lost. The god is not worshipped anywhere on earth. And the scent still works. Whatever they saw in that room, they were right about one thing. Some things go down into the dark and refuse to stay there.